us Jujutsu Kaisen fans were living in darkness. There was no news of Season 3, and the only content we got was a recap movie of the Hidden Inventory arc. It was all but hopeless. But then, a pulse was detected. Deep in a lake filled entirely by my saltwater tears of copium, a Gojo fish emerged to deliver good news. Season 3 will be coming in January 2026.
Well, you can tell everybody.
Not only that, but we're getting a new movie this year called Execution, which includes the Shibuya incident as well as Itadori's extermination arc, which will be shown in Season 3. We are back!
He's back!
On the manga side of things, Jujutsu Kaisen ended 1 year ago, after 271 chapters. And now, 1 year later, we have a new spin-off, Mojuro. We are so back! When Gege announced he was making a new manga, I didn't think he'd be revisiting the world of Jujutsu so soon, and I certainly didn't think he'd be revisiting it nearly 70 years in the future. But here we are. The new JJK spin-off has arrived and will get a total of 3 volumes. But only a few chapters in, and Lobotomy Kaisen has returned like it never left. But fandom resurrection aside, Mojuro is already a return to form for JJK. And for 1 second, just put aside your Gege slander. Open your eyes and look at all the good stuff he's given us. Now that he's rested up after his health issues, he's brought back JJK and immediately gave Yuta and Maki a happy ending. You know how much of a blessing it is for Jujutsu sorcerers to die of old age? Gege didn't even give that courtesy to the GOAT. Not only that, we get to see their grandkids Tsurugi and Yuka, and we get aliens, like these Trigun-looking twins, Cross and Inspector Jonathan Maru, the series' new acid-colored, bleach-haired cupcake. And not only that, it seems that after JJK's rushed ending, Gege is using this new series to right some wrongs and revive some abandoned plot threads of the original series. And one of those is human trafficking. But first, we need to get into the history of human trafficking in Japan. Just sit down. I'm trying to make this educational. Human trafficking is a bit of a problem in Japan. Okay, bit is an understatement. The country is listed as a Tier 2 country by the US's Trafficking and Violence Protection Act, or the TVPA. These are countries that, quote, do not fully comply with all of the TVPA's minimum standards, but are making significant efforts to bring themselves into compliance with those standards, end quote. In any case, Japan is a hub for trafficking foreign workers, women, and children for exploitation, and has been for a while. Within the waning days of the Edo period, Japan had ended sakoku, which was their isolationist status, and began to open itself up for cultural exchange and international trade networks. While this opened up the door to globalize Japan, this also led to an expansion of another kind of network. The term Karyuki-san, which literally means woman going to China, was a name given to Japanese women and girls who were trafficked from impoverished prefectures to certain Asian or Pacific regions and primarily worked as prostitutes. They were particularly taken to areas under European control in a human trafficking underground called the Yellow Slave Traffic. They'd be mostly used to serve as men, though their status, rights, and uses varied. For example, there were instances in East Russia and Manchuria where most of the Japanese population would include merchants and these Karyuki women. The women would even undergo missions and collect intel on behalf of Japanese nationalist groups in the area, where they were hailed as their own Amazon army. But nowadays, while not nearly as widespread, trafficking as a whole is still a problem. In 2024, the US government identified 61 trafficking victims in Japan, most of which were women and children, which was an increase from 29 confirmed victims the previous year. There are also several hundred more cases of child exploitation that aren't formally investigated as trafficking unless there was a third party involved. Now, I'm not saying this is indicative of Japan as a whole, but with a population of over 120 million people, a few hundred reported cases is relatively small, yet still poses a problem. Given the history of trafficking in Japan from the past few centuries, it's not unrealistic to think that this issue would persist in the next few decades. But why is this important to the story of Jujutsu Kaisen as a whole? The short answer is because Gege wants to start a resource war, and I fully condone it. Let me explain. During the Culling Game, Kenjaku visits the United States military in the White House to convince them to abduct sorcerers. Now, the president is appalled by the idea of abducting Japanese citizens, which is the most unrealistic part of the scene, but one of the government officials, Cyrus Vale, suggests that the US could use cursed energy to replace other energy sources and solve the energy crisis. This would be achieved by abducting Japanese sorcerers to use as conduits for cursed energy, and therefore beating other countries to this new energy source, which is essentially the plot of Monsters Inc. It's a unique angle to the modern clean energy race. While countries like those in the Persian Gulf still thrive off of natural gas and oil, which have provided hundreds of billions of dollars in yearly revenue, many nations have explored alternate sources such as nuclear and hydro in a bid to pivot to cleaner energy. For example, my own city runs practically entirely off of hydroelectricity due to our abundant water supply, and it makes sense for governments and companies to diversify for reasons like preserving the environment or accounting for large population growth. However, there is a small problem with all this. After Kenjaku demonstrated how cursed energy works to the US government, this plot point is never touched upon again. Wait, why did Gege introduce this plot point? Hype moments and aura. This could have been the start of American Jujutsu sorcerers, and maybe even a global Jujutsu war, but we don't see anything come out of the American government's newfound knowledge of cursed energy and spirits, or whether they did abduct sorcerers to harvest energy. The reason behind this? Gege forgot or something. I don't know. Or he figured it was too much trouble to make the American military realistic instead of focusing on the actual Jujutsu stuff, which he can just make up out of nowhere. In any case, this cursed energy harvesting thread was abandoned. Until now. In Mojuro, Yuta and Maki's grandchildren Yuka and Tsurugi are assigned to investigate a series of abductions where people, mainly children, are being kidnapped to be sold off and used for their cursed energy. The dude behind these abductions mentions that Japanese people specifically are in high demand within the human trafficking world. This directly picks up the abduction plotline back where it was left off, since knowledge of cursed energy has likely spread in the aftermath of the Shibuya incident and the Culling game. I mean, it makes sense. The population of the world will increase considerably within our lifetimes, and it's predicted to reach 10 billion between the 2050s and the 2070s. That means Earth has likely achieved that milestone during Mojuro, which takes place in 2086. If countries will encounter problems trying to distribute enough energy and resources to their expanding populations, more innovative measures will definitely be more welcome. So using external bidders and third parties to invest in cursed energy would be a score. Until the aliens show up. Flipping greenskins. The alien refugees, called Sumerians, are assumed to be stronger than average Jujutsu sorcerers and have recently invaded, which has been declared a special grade event on par with Sukuna's rampage. And it's because of this that the value of trafficked Japanese citizens will depreciate soon, causing this guy to willingly halt his business plans. Basic supply and demand. If he wasn't a human trafficker, I'd respect the hustle. Who knows, there's 50,000 members of the Sumerian race coming to Earth. Many, if not all of them, might be able to use cursed abilities or techniques, which means larger cursed energy reserves. If someone like Gojo could power an entire nation, thousands of aliens could fuel the world for years to come. This could also instigate a full-on war between the aliens and Jujutsu society and Earth as a whole. And maybe that's the plot and I just cracked the case. I don't know. I'm just excited at the possibilities here. I don't know what's in store for this series, since it's going to have a shorter run than JJK did, and because of that, its scope could be limited. But on the bright side, with a set beginning and end, this hopefully means that Gege has a plan for what he wants to expand on. So far, the reintroduction of even a small plotline could be the beginning of redeeming the missed opportunities of the OG series. Whatever happens, we will be getting a lot to chew on with Mojuro, the Lobotomy Kaisen, and its inevitable anime adaptation years down the line. So in case you were hoping to be done with JJK after the main anime finishes airing, strap in buddy, we're only getting started.